Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Bible study of Proverbs chapter 29. I'm sorry that I don't have any video or haven't had any video of myself the last couple of days. The reason for that is because my wife and I have some traveling we got to get done, and I had to work ahead, and it's just faster, especially with our slow internet problems that persist, to do these without video. So that's why hopefully that'll be back, in the next 1 or 2 days. And I'll let you know where we are, Lord willing, when this video comes out. We'll probably be on a plane headed east. And so I'm looking forward to updating everybody and seeing you all again soon. At least you seeing me again soon. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to do that. You just want to look at the PDF. The PDF, by the way, can be downloaded on our website for free at tobelikechrist.com. And it's an exciting day on our PDF today because we finally get to fill in the last dot of our second section. We are in chapter 29 today, which puts us at the very end of the Proverbs of Solomon. Tomorrow, we'll be getting into chapter 30 and 31, which are our final and shorter section. Let's quickly take a look at two words that we want to define. The first one is scoffer. We've seen this one before. It's a mocker, someone who makes fun of something or someone. And then there's a verb here, the word vent or to vent in verse 11. We're going to highlight verse 11, so I wanted to define this word. It means basically to express yourself freely. And that's not a good thing, at least in the way that it's used here in verse 11. And of course, as in all of the Proverbs of Solomon, it's important to remember that these are principles, not necessarily promises from God. These are wise statements that stand as general truths for our learning. Now, join me over here on page number 2, and we will look at the Proverbs that we want to highlight. You know what? I lied. I just realized it. I originally had verse 11 with that word to vent in it. I originally had that one as one of our highlighted ones, but I actually took it out and I put verse 10 in instead because I actually didn't have room to fit them all. I was going to do 4, but you'll see on our outline we just have 3 that we're going to highlight. So sorry, verse 11 is not on there. We're actually going to do 9, 10, and then verse 26. So 9 is up first. If a wise man has an argument with a fool, the fool only rages and laughs, and there is no quiet. A wise man who's skilled with his words, as all wise men are, can have a debate with a fool, but it still won't end constructively, no matter how wise this guy is. No matter what tactic the wise man employs, all the fool wants to do is argue, rage, vent, and complain. There are some people that will argue with you and deny a rational conclusion no matter how you present it to them. No tactic, no tone, no logic, no eloquence will keep them from just continually fighting with you. They act like they are trying to engage you in an honest debate, maybe when they first start off the conversation, but they've really already made up their minds and they're not going to change it. I know I've seen this a lot on YouTube. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. Most of my comments are pretty positive, but there are some people who come into the comments and they want to argue for something. And even when they've really been shown that their argument doesn't hold any water, they'll still fight for it. They refuse to give it up, and they'll just go on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and they'll never admit that they're wrong, or they'll never be corrected, or they'll never come to some kind of reasonable conclusion with you. The greatest logician or orator on earth can't stop a fool who is determined to rage. And the wise man knows that there are some arguments that he's just going to have to walk away from because they're never going to come to a peaceful conclusion. So the wise man's able to do that. After a time, maybe he's able to say, I can see that we're not getting anywhere. I can see that you're not really here to reason out this discussion or this argument or this debate, and so I think I'm just gonna leave and spend my energy somewhere else. Our second proverb to highlight today is in verse 10. Bloodthirsty men hate one who is blameless and seek the life of the upright. Sinful people sometimes hate Christians because their holy lifestyle makes them uneasy. And I don't mean to say there that Christians are holy and that they never sin, but rather that we're striving to live a holy life according to God's instructions. And that makes people who aren't doing that, makes them uneasy sometimes. The sinful person knows that they shouldn't be living the way that they are, but rather than dealing with their guilty conscience, they take it out on people who are trying to live moral lives. Sinful people will sometimes accuse Christians of being stuck up or thinking that they're better than everybody else because they won't participate in common sense. I know I've heard that before. They frame followers of God as if they are the bad ones because they aren't affirming the behavior of the rest of the group. As followers of Jesus, we will be disliked by some purely because we're trying to live an upright life. Ask God for strength to deal with those kinds of people and for wisdom not to be tricked by them into thinking that you're the one in the wrong. They will essentially try to gaslight you just because you're trying to live according to God's instruction. So we need to be wise to see through that. Now for proverb number 3. This is in verse 26. Many seek the face of a ruler, but it is from the Lord that a man gets justice. In former days, citizens of a kingdom would bring their legal cases to a king or to a ruler, and they would appear in person, present the facts, and have that official rule on their case. Their hope was that the ruler was a fair and honest man who would judge justly. Unfortunately, though, that wasn't always the case. Sometimes a victim put their trust in the court system only to receive an unjust ruling. Perhaps the ruler took a bribe, or maybe he was friends with the person being accused, or maybe he just wasn't feeling particularly sympathetic that day, or he wasn't paying attention. People have always looked to rulers, officials, kings, and political leaders for justice, but I think as we look around our world, we all know that justice isn't always done. This proverb instructs us not to put our final hope for justice in earthly rulers. The only perfect judge is God, and God will one day make sure that justice is done. He'll ensure that victims are protected, the evil people are punished. He will expose everything and leave nothing undone that must be done to bring perfect justice to reality. A king may fail you, but the King of Kings will not, and he will judge any ruler who has abused the authority entrusted to them. So I think we all look forward to that day when God will make everything right. For the time being, we're under these earthly rulers, and not everything goes the way it should because of the influence of wickedness and the influence of Satan in our world. But one day, God will make everything right. And so we should look to him in hope and in anticipation for a better day. That's our study in Proverbs chapter 29. I hope whatever you're doing today, it's going to be a good day, that you don't suffer any injustices, and that you show mercy to everybody around you as God has shown all of us mercy.